Hello there, I'm Simon Rafe and welcome to Brown Bag Bible Study, the Bible study that you can do in your lunch break. Now this is an introduction to Scripture. It's going to give you some information that you might not have known, and it's going to encourage you to read the Bible. But most importantly, it's presented in easy to swallow, bite-sized pieces which are perfect to fit in with our hectic lifestyles today. Every week, I'll be concentrating on a small part of Scripture, either one of the 73 books of the Bible or a group of related books. And I'll bring you some interesting facts, information, tidbits, and what have you to help you understand and appreciate it more. I'll also be including links to further reading, articles, books, magazines, and so forth that'll help you learn to love the Bible even more than you do already. This week, Ecclesiastes, one of the wisdom books. The title of the book means member of the assembly or preacher. It draws from the same word as ecclesial, which refers to a church or assembly. The text identifies the author as a son of David the king. Now obviously this is a reference to Solomon, but most authors consider this a literary device rather than a literal truth. The form of Hebrew used in the book is much later than Solomon's reign, and it contains many foreign words. Now, it's likely, given Solomon's legendary wisdom, that the identification of Solomon as the author is intended to reflect the ultimate origin of the good advice and wisdom in Ecclesiastes. It's intended to reflect that it comes from Solomon. Now, on the face of it, Ecclesiastes can be a somewhat depressing work to read. Throughout the book, the efforts and work of man are said to be futile and pointless. The author affirms the mortality of humanity, but seems to be less certain about the immortality of the soul. Some commentators have gone so far as to say that Ecclesiastes denies the afterlife, and Protestants such as Martin Luther have used the book to argue for the heretical position of soul sleep, the idea that the dead know nothing between death and the final judgment. However, the book constantly exhorts the reader to nobility and decent living, and most importantly, trust in God. In this way, it has much in common with the book of Job, a man who seems to live his life, difficult though it is, in complete accord with the principles of Ecclesiastes. Ultimately, while Ecclesiastes might lack the superficial happiness of secular books and even other parts of the Bible, it encourages faithfulness to God in adversity and encourages the reader to focus on things not under the sun but above the sun. This distinction, a distinction between the high and the low, will be familiar to the Christian reader from St. Paul's exhortation to focus on the things of heaven, not the things of earth. Seen in the light of the Christian experience, the rejection of the base pleasures of earthly things and a focus on the spiritual pleasures of heaven, Ecclesiastes makes much more sense. However, as a Catholic, you must be ready not only to read and understand Ecclesiastes, but also defend the faith against the misapplied verses from it. The somewhat dour, depressing tone of the book has led many to believe, in defiance of the clear teaching of the Church and other scriptural references, has led them to hold the erroneous beliefs about the afterlife. In particular, the heresy of soul sleep, and in some cases, a denial of the very concept of the afterlife at all, even arguing for the destruction of the human soul after death. Now, these heresies are pernicious and common, and often appear independently among people who have read the Bible without the benefit of the Church's teaching guiding them. Remember, there is no legitimate interpretation of the Bible outside the teaching of the Church, and the Bible is a Church document first and foremost. Study the additional materials given to learn how to defend against this heresy. The topic is too complex to go into here, but remember, always, that many of those who hold this and other heresies do not do so out of malice, but simple ignorance and poor catechesis. Ecclesiastes urges us to live lives faithful to God, and one of the spiritual works of mercy is to instruct the ignorant in the faith. There is nothing better than to help a fellow man know and love God even more. So, read Ecclesiastes and familiarize yourself with the teaching of the Church and how to defend it. Next week, we remain with the wisdom books and delve into one of the most misunderstood and yet beautiful books of the Bible, the Song of Songs. Until then, I'm Simon Rafe, and God bless. To learn more about the place of Scripture in the lives of Catholic Christians, I urge you to read Pope Benedict's apostolic exhortation Verbum Domini. The Pope encourages all Catholics to read, learn and love Scripture and to understand its relation to the Church. A link to this exhortation is included in the reading materials for every episode of Brown Bag Bible Study. Just click the link over there.